what you want to do is get this up to about 1600 degrees. What the fuck? Well, hello everybody. Long time no see, but thought I would, well, I didn't come out of anything or think I would do anything. I finally got around to ordering some new battery cable for the Beast. It's 4/0, and it should be interesting because the cables that I'm going to replace are original to the truck, which rolled off the assembly line, and I think it was June or July of 1998. It's interesting because I will cut the insulation off of the original ones when I get them replaced. And we'll see what's in it. It'll be interesting. Like I said, 21, almost 22 years. And alright, I'm back. To give you a little perspective of what started all this. This cable right here, watch, it won't even focus, was part of the original negative cable, and as you can see, it's about 3 times bigger than what we will be using. And what got this, as you can see, all the corrosion on the inside, and to the untrained observer, it didn't look like these were cracked or anything, but this, to get us by, was the repair basically I had to do. It was some 2/0 welding cable, and no, it's not the prettiest thing in the world by any means, but it got the job done, which is why from Del City I like using these. These are I think they're called the Fusion. They're cast copper battery ends, terminal ends, and these come pre-loaded with the appropriate amount of solder and flux. And basically you clamp these into a suitable fixture, heat it up, and then slowly put the copper into it. When it solidifies, it not only is a much more superior electrical connection, conductivity wise, than a crimp, but the strength is much more too, and then of course you would put the heat shrink over it. So, alright, I've got the situation, the very much do-it-yourself backyard clamping fixture here. Hopefully these are rated for the heat I need. But to give you some perspective, this is the original battery cable that I told you. It just was acting odd, so I checked the resistance. Long story short, as you can see, the corrosion that was inside, and we will take a look at this in a little bit. But just to give you some perspective, this whole cable can fit insulation and all down inside this terminal end, where just the conductors are going to go. And what will happen is I'm going to get this all straightened up here, get this in, heat this up with the torch, and then when the solder in there becomes liquid, it'll push on down, and everybody will be happy. Alright, I've got the insulation trimmed off. As you can see, it's roughly the equivalent of that. Okay, right there, like that. And this is what I was talking about. Even though this original cable had the jacketing still on it, and apparently or visually it looked halfway decent, look at the difference between something that's not been oxidized, and even this area right in here, right there, starting to get some green crusties on it. I thought I would show. I'm sure some of you that have done this before will find this boring, but any of these terminal ends are basically conical shaped. As you'll see, if this will pick it up, this is wider than this. And the reason being is the posts are sort of cone shaped. They're bigger at the base, smaller at the top. And if you'll also look, if this shows it, come on, focus right there. It's a little minus or dash. This is a negative terminal. And this cable is very, very, it's not pliable. I will tell you, the SGX, which is the equivalent to, well, it says right there, SGX 4/0 Flex, equivalent to SAE J1127. Anyway, this goes against the block here. And of course, I don't have the bolt, so the bolt will come through this way. Goes against the block. God, that's hot. However, when you get over here to the battery, it comes up like this. So you want, when you get ready to put this together, you want the terminal end and the cable as close to its final orientation as you can get. And I will attempt to show you what I mean. Alright, as you can see, the exquisite clamping job I've got here. And if you can pretend or play along that this is the top of the battery. So the battery would be setting, these are the posts. And if you come down the cable here, you'll see that this is orientated to where this part will be against the block of the engine. So the bolts will come through, studs will be this way, or the threads will be that way. So what you want to do is, when I do this, is I want to make sure when I bend this and stick it in, that cable end down there stays oriented pretty much the way I need it to at the end. Because like I said, this stuff is not pliable. Something also, this heat shrink tubing is like a 3.5, 4 to 1. If you can see inside how shiny it is, if you're doing this, spend the extra money and get the adhesive lined. It makes for, well, not that these battery cables would be underwater, but like for trailer connections and stuff, they're much better suited to keep the moisture and stuff out. Again, these fine folks here at Del City, not a sponsor, and the people at Wire and Cable Your Way, I want to say, there comes a point here where it's a little easier to talk over the video. Yes, this is a explanation of what the adhesive looks like when it's all melted and the tubing has shrunk down. This next video clip, the audio was less than mediocre, but it does give you a better representation, two colors contrasting, of what that adhesive actually does. It provides a water or weather tight, weather resistant connection, especially if you're doing boat trailers or someplace or connection that will see a lot of moisture. Just something better to do now than to have to redo it later. Alright kids, this is the last one. Hopefully we don't have the same problem. God, I can't believe I did that. Gets the damn thing on fire. So it smells like a new garden hose when it gets warm. As you can see there was success on that last cable end. That was literally the last end I put on. This one, however, I don't know what caused that to flame up. The cable jacketing was not melted. I was more concerned why I grabbed a hold of the cable end. Well, it still had molten solder on it is beyond me, but long story short, it's not supposed to turn out like this. They went in very well. They've always done very well for me in the past. In that last bit, you did see a couple little areas that I can't believe this is flaming. God, I'd love to know what caused that. But anyway, I did go back and have always gone back and touched up those little voids with the some silver solder. As you can see here, the solder did adhere quite well to the walls of that cable end there, or terminal end. I don't know. I don't know what happened to it, but did provide some comic relief. Alright, as promised, this is the cable that went down to the from the battery to the starter. And it'll be interesting to see what this thing looks like. Well, I gotta say, for as bad as the ends were, as you can see here, we were starting to get some oxidation in there. Now, I'll be honest with you, this cable, this end was too big for that, so that might have a reason for it. But I hope this is picking it up, that there's a lot of green oxidation, more so than I would have expected, given, again, like the insulation wasn't nicked, or no, this tape and stuff is where they had it going, extra protection where it went through some cabled stays or ties or rings next to the block. But overall, like right there, I hope that picks that up. I would not have expected the amount of oxidation, the green yellowish inside, as we're saying, but 20 years, 22 years actually, so I don't know that it's horrible. Alright, so this was the original negative cable, and again I put new ends on, but right inside where I stripped the insulation back, you can see all this discoloration. And then this is definitely down inside. This is some of the rubber that was left on, but this is towards the bottom of the cable, the end of the cable that attached to the block. That's interesting. That looks like it was actually starting to arc, but when you look at the cable end, or the insulation, well, yeah, I guess you do. That piece right there was about, but this is what I'm really wanting to show. This right here, this is the original end. This would be against the block side of the cable. This would be where the bolt went through. This is the bare end. Had some tin coating on it originally. But look at how it has oxidized on the inside. So long story short, this is my synopsis, my advice to anybody. A, don't wait 20 years or 20 plus years to replace the battery cables. B, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 8 months, whatever, if you notice the engine gas or diesel is not starting as crisp or as quickly as it used to, and you've had the starter tested, or the tartars tested, whatever, and the batteries test good, and you've even gone so far as to replace the batteries, look at the cables. Take it from me, take it from this. I hope this is coming out as vividly as I want it to. That might very well be your problem.